Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the ice. Brought to you by Dokesbrook Fuels, Case Financial Group, Toby Hockey, and the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. Before we get started tonight, I just wanted to have a quick word with everybody. Just want to say thank you very much for joining us here on February 1st. That's the beginning of Black History Month. But more importantly, it's the resumption and the return of a lot of sports all across Canada, including the SIJHL. There's been breaking news from the Commissioner's office and Darren Nicholas, who has sent me a couple of emails with regards to what's happening with the SI over the coming weeks and the rest of this regular season. First and foremost, it's a welcome to see all of the teams back in the SIJHL, except for the team in Thief River Falls, Minnesota, which will be taking a bit of a hiatus for this upcoming remainder of the season, only because there has been some issues with players and having enough players to field for a team. Certainly something we don't want to hear about, but more importantly, the safety and the availability of players has been an issue for the team out of Thief River Falls, and we look forward to seeing them join in the 22-23 season. Having that said, weekend action returns in Thunder Bay as well as in Wisconsin. I believe there'll be the Battle of Thunder Bay between the North Stars and the Cam River Walleye, so that'll be a good tilt. Capacity of 275 people. Building will be sold out there, and of course it'll be a good setup, a good matchup, returning to the ice as Cam River looks to keep their record with just 3 losses, but at the same time staying within the rankings of the CJHL across Canada, still in the top 10. So congratulations to Cam River for doing such. Thunder Bay is going to be a good nemesis, if you will, this upcoming weekend, and we look forward to seeing the remainder of the season being finished. We hope to get Darren or somebody from the SI in next week's show to give us an idea on how the season is going to return, whether or not it's going to be lengthened for a little bit due to the fact that the games have been canceled for about a month or so. And we hope to get an update from them for next week here on the ice on ASTV. At the same time, we're hoping to hear word from the Thunder Bay Kings, who are still traveling or hope to travel to Toronto to finish their seasons off as well, because they are a team with a bit of a predicament where they have to travel, or they've decided to travel to play in the GTHL, and give them an opportunity to say, you know what, here's the plan and here's what's going on. So it really works out for them if this is the case, that we get to see hockey return to everybody, and we'll go from there. Up next, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Coach Brad Platt of the U18 female program in Pilot Mountain. We're going to talk to him for a couple minutes to find out how they're going to be continuing the rest of their season as they headed into Winnipeg, and then they're off to BC in a couple of days. So we're going to get him on first, and then we'll get Wayne Kosior in round 2. And we'll talk about what's going up with Wayne as well. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to chat with our good friend Brad Platt in the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. Stay with us.
Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
Joining us tonight, Brad Platt, head coach, U18 female program. Brad, it's been only a couple of weeks since I've seen you. How you been?
Well, it's been I've been good. A little storm stay today, but but everything's going good. Good practices, and ready to get on an airplane.
Ready to get on an airplane. That's exactly right. We're going to get to that in just a quick second. But first, I got to put a little salt in the wound. Not a lot of salt, but 2 games this weekend with St. Mary's. The first one was a whole lot better than the second one. What are the takeaways from this weekend that we can look at for this team? Because moving forward, this weekend upcoming in Delta, 3 really big league games, 3 different opponents. But let's quickly look at what happened this past weekend and what can we learn from it in St. Mary's.
Well, St. Mary's has got a really good hockey team, and I've told the girls right from day one, if we're going to beat any teams in this league, we have to play top notch. We have to be at the top of our game, and that's everybody: goaltender, defense, forwards. Everybody's got to pitch in. Fortunately, Friday night I thought we were there. Had a couple unlucky bounces. That game could have went either way. We were right in that game, and I was really happy with the effort and most part the effort. And we were moving the puck well. Things were going good. It showed our week of practices. It looked like it was paying off. Then Sunday, just nothing could go our way. It was just one of those games on Sunday.
So the Saturday game could have gone either way.
Friday, Saturday.
Friday's game, sorry, the first game of the 2. Let's call it the first game of the 2. Just keep it easy for us there. Was the roster all set in place? What was the game plan going into that game that truly, showed the team playing in its best way?
We worked a lot in practice on, moving the puck right from our end, looking after our end for number one, and then creating scoring chances. And, it was everything was just going good. Like I said, they got a couple bounces, and Julie in goal played good for us. And, we scored a few goals, so it was nice to see. I thought the girls all around, defensive zone, offensive zone, neutral zone, I thought we were pretty good. And like I said, we had a good week of practices. So, unfortunately, they keep doing those games like that, and so I know they can do it. So they can't really hide anymore. I've seen it, so we just got to find again that consistency part of our game and doing it day in, day out. So you can't take any nights off in this league, especially against a team like St. Mary's.
Well, certainly no nights can be taken off. No mornings can be taken off either. Like you said, Brad, you're heading a couple days. You're collecting some air miles, heading over to BC. How excited is the team knowing that this is the last big travel weekend before March?
Well, actually, we go to Penticton in February, so
okay.
We do have another bus trip, and that's fine. I like the bus trips. I think the girls are excited. It's a little bit more on my plate. I know the routine of driving everywhere, so not having Lovell as our driver at our beck and call out there, and getting on a plane with 19 females and a couple that have never flown before, and trying to get everything organized. It's a little bit more stressful than just jumping on a bus, I'll tell you that. But I think we're getting there. I think we got a game plan, and once we get out there, it's get to work time and get rid of exams this week too. So that can mess with the girls' brain too with exams. The females, they want to be perfect at just about everything they do, so they put a lot of pressure on themselves. So we can get rid of these exams. Hopefully that can ease their mind a little bit and just focus on hockey.
Focus on hockey, like you said. You said a couple of the players hadn't been on a plane before.
No.
Over the fact that we do so much different types of travel within the CSSHL, how does this prepare players just for that opportunity to, when they reach that next level or decide to pursue that next level of hockey and student athleticism, that travel is part of the everyday? And this is just one of those things that the academy gets to provide to these young players at this high school age that, quite frankly, a lot of players or a lot of people at their age wouldn't have that opportunity.
Yeah, you can tell all these kids that every day, but until they actually experience it, that's when they'll start believing it. Every day to day living and on the ice every day, like there's so much they're getting out of this program that will benefit them in the future. We've had girls here for 3 to 4 years. They move on to college. They're ready. There's no, I'm sure there's going to be a little homesickness still, but those kids have been through it all, done it all. It's all, nothing's new to them really. So the experience, yeah, you're getting a lot out of this program just for those experiences for sure.
3 games on the weekend. Delta is the first opponent, Okanagan Hockey Academy the second, and then Southern Alberta the third. All 3 different opponents, 3 different game plans, Brad, or how do you approach this weekend with the team?
No, game plan is work hard, outwork them, be hard to play against. Don't give up on battles, win battles. We gotta get better at the simple part of hockey before we start trying to get a whole bunch of different game plans in place. We're gonna have to outwork teams. We're gonna have to just muscle it out and be tough to play against. That's the biggest thing I've been saying all year. They're sick of me saying it. I'm like, just be hard to play against. If somebody takes the puck from you, go get it back.
There it is. Keeping a simple game plan. I like that plan, Brad. Speaking of simple game plans, the PilotMountHockeyAcademy.com has been showing and showcasing some of the players every Tuesday. I did this with Coach Kyle last week. We put him on the spot with the 5 questions that his players were asked today. Are you ready?
Oh, I should have watched the interviews.
It's okay. I got the questions for you because Morgan Setti, your prolific goal scorer, being showcased today. But the 5 questions are coming. Here's the first one for you. What's your favorite movie, Brad?
Slapshot.
There we go. Classic. You can't show that one on a bus anymore, though, can you?
No, actually, I've watched when I coach boys, I probably watched Slapshot 15 times in a year. When coaching girls, I've probably watched Pitch Perfect about 15 times.
So that's been the replacement. Okay. Growing up, Brad, your favorite NHL player, or currently your favorite NHL player?
It's got to be Gretzky.
Okay. Simple. Got to go back in the Peabody Wayback Machine for this next one, Brad. When you were a young star, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Not in jail. I don't know. I always kind of wanted to be a police officer. I actually kind of went through a little bit of a stage where I went through part of the training for it, but other things kind of happen in life, and
police officer. Okay. Now, this next one is either an A or a B. You're on a stranded island. You can bring one thing or you can bring one person. What would you bring, or who would you bring?
Oh, my goodness. That's a loaded question. I would have to... I don't know. One thing, I would for sure need music. I would go nuts. If I had music, I could live just about anywhere.
Fabulous. I think I would do the same. I don't necessarily need one person. I just need my music. That's right. Last one. You did these very well so far, Brad. You didn't need to be prepared at all. But
okay.
If you were a piece of clothing and there was a warning label on it, what would the warning label say?
I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but don't underestimate the size.
Never underestimate the size.
I
like it, Brad.
I always thought it was a lot bigger than I really am. So a bit of a firecracker when I played hockey.
Okay. Certainly the size of the dog in the fight doesn't matter. It's the size of the fight in the dog.
That's right.
Correct?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the right word or the right logo, but I just couldn't picture it. You got me stumped on that one.
Ah, you did well. Well, hopefully the size of the dog doesn't matter when it comes to this weekend's action. The fight is there. Three
Right.
really great games by the players. Have fun on the plane. We won't have to hear any karaoke stories, I'm sure, but we look
I
forward
hope
to
we're
seeing
not
how
singing on the bus or on the plane.
no singing and dancing on the plane for Coach Brad, but I'm sure he'll have some stories to tell. Thanks for joining us. We'll let you get back to your packing, Brad. Up next, we'll have Wayne Kosior with us to talk Wayne's World and some action on the college front across Canada and North America tonight. Back on the ice. As promised, part two. We had to switch it up again. Wayne Kosior is with us. Wayne, good evening. How are you doing today?
Good evening. Good. Now that we got connectivity going here and stuff like that. So I thought, just like a good rock band, you never want to be on time. You want to keep the audience waiting and stuff like that. So that was kind of my rock star moment.
Well, at least you showed up. Axl Rose and Gunners never showed up in '91. Winnipeg Arena, they were 2.5 hours late, but it was still one hell of a show. But we'll leave it at that, Wayne, because some people enjoy my taste in music. Some people, hey, that's okay.
Sounds good.
Three really great topics to start off with here before we get to the hot takes. Let's start off with last night's inaugural Zoom webinar with a good buddy of yours, Nevin Marquardt. Tell me a little bit about what this monthly series is going to be and some of the takeaways from Nevin's discussion with you last night.
Sure. So what it was last night was just going to be a monthly educational webinar that we're going to be running with Trailblazer Hockey, just to ultimately educate our client base. Last night was a bit of a special one. We opened it up to the global audience to let anybody tune in and just see what being part of the Trailblazer family is like, and the education you get. So we plan to do those on a monthly basis using Zoom webinar, which allows us to have up to 500 attendees. And we had about 200 eyeballs last night, so that's great for our initial one. And like I say, they are going to be, for the most part, exclusive events to our members going forward. And like I say, we're going to have topics. Nevin was kind of speaking on his pathway to the NHL last night. He kind of had a unique pathway, starting with, he was a very average player as a minor hockey player. And I think it was till he was 12 or 13 years old before he actually made one of the elite teams, like the A teams back in the day. He was always a B-type player. And, it just reinforces what I try to tell players and parents, that don't worry if your kid's not the superstar at 12. There's a long, long road ahead of you. And Nevin's a classic example of that. And, it goes on further. He's a December-born kid, right? We always talk about the late-born kids that are challenged younger. And even when he went to his first Regina Pats camp, he got cut, as a 16-year-old. And that was only less than 2 years from the day he was drafted first round in the NHL draft. And so he went back and played junior hockey and got called up later that year. And at the end of the day, he only played 40-some WHL games before he got drafted first overall, went on to a great career. And so just hearing that story and the fact that, education was key to Nevin's success, even though he played in the league for almost 10 years, it was his double master's degree that, has made him the money that he has today. And going forward, we got some great ideas. We're going to plan on bringing in some NCAA Division I coaches to share their story on their schools and kind of what it's like playing NCAA. And this next month, I think we're going to have a WHL GM and coach speak, so kind of get the WHL angle. So bottom line is we're trying to give our families and players kind of the whole view of the different opportunities and pathways they can go, and hopefully allow them to make their best decision possible.
You mentioned a great story from Nevin. 3 takeaways I had. One, he grew up playing broomball. That was interesting. I never realized he was a broomball player from Sault Ste. Marie. Secondly, the conversation he had with a reporter before in his draft year, and him questioning his not compete level, but just asking the reporter, "How do I look out there?" And the reporter gave him that look. Are you kidding me? You're 8th overall on the prospect list. Like, come on, you're going to be fine. Yeah. And the last one was, not only was his first MBA from surprised that he went back and finished his first, but he did a second at the age of 54 in cybersecurity. So you're never too old to go back to school and further your education. And truly remarkable individual to have the stamina to do that. Great discussion with him last night. I was very, very interested to hear his words, and also for him to just back off during his draft day, telling Edmonton, "Not, you're okay. I'm going to go to Boston. Harry's got me. I'm good to go." And found that kind of curious, but it was obviously for a very good reason, because he played and made the second line left side, as opposed to potentially not making the Oilers in their heyday of the 80s. But we'll leave it at that. Look forward to next month's conversation. Your background, Wayne, is very much encompassing a lot of junior hockey, not just in Canada, but heavily involved in 2 different leagues in the United States. Give us a little bit of a show or a little bit of taste of why those 2 leagues are still viable options for Canadians to head south.
Yeah, and actually there's more than 2 leagues, but there's 2 on the sanction side of U.S. hockey. And this is something that we spend a lot of time educating our clients that we advise and stuff, is that, there's sanctioned USA hockey, which is the North American League, or the Nhl, and then the USHL, the United States Hockey League. And then on the non-sanctioned side is the USPHL, which is the United States Premier Hockey League. And the main one there is the NCDC, the National Collegiate Conference. And then there's the Premier divisions underneath that. So literally hundreds and hundreds of teams that you can play with, at the junior B or junior A level, as we call it in Canada. Down there, it's tier 2 and tier 3, and the USHL is tier 1. So, anybody that's looking to go NCAA, I always tell them, if you're really serious about it, the sooner you can go down and play in front of the NCAA scouts regularly is better for you. They do heavily scout the junior leagues in Canada at varying levels type thing, but there's nothing like being right in their backyard. And, I was recently looking at taking a kid from the Ontario Junior League during their shutdown down to the NCDC in the Boston area. And, just the number of colleges there within like a stone throw of Boston is incredible. Your head coach played in the NCAA, so he's connected to everybody. And, it's a lot of the networks that get you on the radar. Ultimately, you have to be a good enough player, and your skills and abilities will have to get you the position. But, the first step is to get on the radar of these schools. And the sooner you can get on there, it does help you.
How has these last couple of years changed getting on the radar? Like you mentioned, geography probably plays a vital role still, but not as compared to 20 years ago, where you didn't have the internet, you didn't have the technology to watch a player, you didn't have the programs like Instat, like you mentioned. But still, being closer to a prospective school does help. And like you said, there's a hotbed in the northeastern side of the United States.
Yeah, exactly. And, as far as Instat and the video and stuff, I still to this date have never met a coach that says he recruited a player via video or Instat and stuff. It's always going to be a way that they take a look at them, maybe assess if they want them on the short list. But, pretty much everybody wants to see somebody live. There's so many of the intangibles that you can't see from the video and stuff, because it's kind of a narrow picture of what the player is all about and stuff. And, I think with COVID, Canadian players definitely got hurt, in my opinion. A lot of leagues up here weren't going while the U.S. leagues were going full blast. And so obviously the coaches down there in the schools are watching those guys that are playing. And, the more they watch them, the more they become comfortable with a player versus some player that they may be seen on video in Canada and don't know how he's developed and stuff. Just people err on the side of safety and take the kid that they've seen lots. And as an American kid, and I guess the other variable is there's always that risk that a Canadian kid could switch gears and go major junior. And so that's always sits in the back of their minds. But again, COVID didn't help, players' opportunities in Canada. Then that got further complicated by the whole 5th year of eligibility, which really trip things up, and then you throw in the transfer portal, and kind of a little bit of a quagmire going on there. It's going to take a year or two to kind of shake things out, I think.
It's going to be a couple of years to get that transfer portal figured out, no doubt. Last thing before we move on to subject 3, do you notice that in the States there's more of, for lack of a better term, a feeder system working through development leagues and then getting into the USHL and then eventually the NCAA? Do you feel that there's more relationships with teams south of the border compared to the parity and the competition of trying to hold on to a player and then trading a player here in the North?
Yeah, yes and no, I think would be my answer. I mean, there are some great programs down there. A lot of times, you go into a city and they'll have a program that's, maybe affiliated with the USHL team or other teams. And it's kind of like they control the whole program from, 18U all the way down. And so in the case of Des Moines Buccaneers, there's a Des Moines Buccaneers program that an individual I know owns a program. And so, they obviously have their brand. They leverage that, develop their players, all the way up, hopefully, get them in early and keep graduating up to the next level. And then ideally, I mean, it'd be nice if they can be Buccaneers and play right in their own backyard and stuff. But certainly they're not tied to Des Moines, but, it is a great program. And I think that works good. But they also have a lot of the academies, prep academies through there that are kind of taken over here in Canada also. And that's kind of stealing a lot of, players from these elite tier 1 is what that's called. And then, USPHL is kind of pulling some players, but there's so much growth in players in the US, I guess, that, they need all these new leagues. There's just so many players come out of those southern states. It's incredible. And I don't think, majority of Canadians appreciate how much growth is coming out of there. And again, that further complicates the NCAA opportunity because, when did you have to compete with kids from Texas and California for a spot on a Div 1 team, right?
And certainly California is going to keep bringing more players each year, as is Texas and even Florida to that matter, because we are seeing a lot of the ECHL and those junior programs in place. For this weekend, finally, we get to see some Olympic action. It's not the Olympic rosters we expected on the ice, but for the players that get their last go-round to support nation, wear the flag for either team, especially here in North America, the Team USA, Team Canada, what do you look forward to seeing, maybe from the old vets, like the Stalls that are going to be wearing a C for Canada, and the up-and-comers like the Beniers and the Powers?
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm a guy that always look forward to the Spengler Cup at Christmas time because you see some of those guys that couldn't quite make pro or didn't have very long pro careers and are playing in Europe now. I love playing college-age players, seeing them play, like I say, Powers and, the OHL kid there, McTavish, is going to be on the team. And some of the other guys, Berniers, you mentioned, it's going to be exciting. And I think the American team, they've got a good combination of current college kids and a few American guys playing over in Europe. And, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Miracle on Ice in 1980, which gives away my age a bit. But, there was no more exciting hockey when you have a bunch of, young guys that come together and, really play to win and give it their all. And I just find that the NHL guys, I mean, some of these guys are making $10 million a year. They're not too motivated. I mean, sure, it's great to win the gold, but at the end of the day, they're going home to $10 million and, take it as a holiday, maybe in some cases. I don't know.
It's not going to be a holiday for the NHLers. They got to do all the makeup games the next couple of weeks here. But if I had to put you on the spot, Wayne, let's hope Canada, USA get to go play for a gold. Who do you think comes out on top?
That's a tough one. I mean, USA's got a great team. I mean, they got some great young talent. And, I was fortunate enough to get to work with 3 of those kids on the Olympic team when they were with Chicago Steel and stuff. So know those kids personally. And, my claim to fame has got to run the bench and camps with those guys on the line, so Powers and Abruzzese and Brisson are players that, did. And Bertrix he was in Omaha when my son Landon was down there at camp. So 4 players in that team that I've, seen and watched in person. So they're going to be strong, but, Canada's always, they're tough to go against. They got some great players there. And, we've mentioned the Owen Power. He's unbelievable. The old Stahl with the old captain. So I think you got a nice mix. And kid that I'm looking forward to seeing too is an old Regina Pat, Jordan Wheel. He's playing over in the KHL now after a number of years in the NHL and stuff. And so I always liked him. He's a high skilled player. He's kind of made for European hockey, good skater. all that stuff. So it's going to be a coin toss. I don't know. What about you?
I think it's going to be a coin toss. I think it's going to come down with which team gels better quicker.
Yeah.
Because really, there's been no chemistry built by any way, shape, or form outside of having a mini camp for 4 or 5 days. I mean, Team Canada's been in Switzerland trying to train a little bit. Now they have a brand new coach because Claude Julien breaks a couple of ribs slipping on some ice. So Shane Doan and a new guy, I forget his name, slipped my head, but I really think about how Hockey Canada has developed over the last decade or so compared to the national development program of Team USA. And I really think that this is going to be kind of one of those models and a plan. Let's be honest, this is a plan B because the Olympics were hoping to have the NHL players there. But because they're not there, this is now set into action a plan B and a quick plan B because there's not a lot of turnaround to field a 24 or 22-man roster to go play in Beijing. So for both of these squads, not so much the international squads, because a lot of their team is still going to be played with, put together by players that are playing within the nation. But not having the pros certainly will test what's going to happen. And I think it would come down to a shootout. I think I'm going to play the fence there. It would come down to a shootout, and I'm going to say Stahl and Eric Odell or Josh Hosang is going to score. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a good way to end it.
I'll name drops there for you, Wayne. A couple of hot takes before we go, real quick. First and foremost, number one, how important is it for a player to communicate what their goals are when it comes to making a team and then moving on to the next level?
Well, I think like most things in life, goals are extremely important. You got to kind of know what you're looking to achieve in the end, and then work backwards from there. I mean, build steps along the way, that you're gonna take to get to that ultimate goal, and that's certainly a methodology that we use here within Trailblazer Hockey to help our players get to the next level. Is structure it like a business and set those goals and targets and some clear deliverables and actions they got to take in order to get there. So I think it's extremely important to use that in sports and in hockey when you're looking at what teams and leagues you're going to go to get to the next level. And I think more and more people should do it instead of just leaving it to blind faith, would be my opinion.
I think goal setting is incredibly important for young kids because it gives them a drive and a motivation and a point to achieve. There's nothing wrong with setting achievement points. If there'd be something wrong if you didn't set achievement points. And if you didn't set that goal for yourself or for your accolades in athletics or academics, you don't have something to strive for. And without it, you're left in some murky water. You're left with some unknown. And you don't know where to put your best foot forward and how to move towards that goal. And if you aren't doing that at a young age, you're not going to build those strengths and you're not going to build those abilities to reach goals when it comes to later in life. Like we talked about Nevin, finding goals at the age of 54, making the team at 18, choosing to play for a team versus maybe not making a team, but knowing where you wanted to play and knowing where you wanted to go and communicating them with people around you, very important. Which brings us to our hot take number 2, because we're only going to have 2 tonight. We talk about a coach being a coach, a parent being a parent, a player being a player. Why is it so important to have that person, that advisor for you? Because that is what their role is, because they are going to be the best at making you the better player and showing you what you are outside of your own play.
Yeah, well, I'm obviously biased on that question, but I just think it's important because hockey is so extremely complex these days, and we did speak a little bit about this last night and how you compare it to sports like basketball or baseball or soccer. It's kind of a different path that you go through, and it's much, much simpler and easier to navigate, and that's compared to hockey, which is, at the prep academies and just the general cost of hockey, it's extremely expensive. And there's just so many leagues to consider. We talked about the various U.S. options there, and we didn't even cover them all. And then you talk about Canada and talk about the various routes that you can go up here. And it's just extremely complex for somebody, any parent or player that's never been through it before. And, as a rule, players and parents only go through it once, right? So by the time they figure it out, their career is done, and that knowledge goes away, and a new parent and player is coming into the bottom of the funnel and goes through the same stuff. So certainly from an advisory perspective, that's what we want to solve, is that problem, is help parents go through that. We've been through it hundreds of times. And, when I calculated the other day, myself, Nevin, and Rich, we probably got about 150 years of hockey experience, which is kind of scary. But, seriously, that is a huge advantage to people that we can help. So you do need that professional advice in today's game if you plan to go to the higher levels.
I'm going to just piggyback real quick and say that there's nothing worse than a young player or a parent looking back a decade or later saying, I wish I would have known, or I wish I would have had someone to tell me that I did something wrong. I had a conversation with someone last week who was supposed to go play Northeastern D1 school after playing a couple of years junior in Ontario, and he found out that 2 of his high school credits weren't transferring. And because 2 of his high school credits didn't transfer, the NCAA school couldn't accept him academically, hence not allowing him to play athletically.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a chance to go finish that part in his high school diploma. He still had a high school diploma, but the courses he took didn't transfer. So having an advisor, having somebody that's there, truly will give you the opportunity for you, not only for you to concentrate on just being a hockey player, but allowing your entourage to do great things and be great people. I think Nevin also said last night, great people surround themselves with even better people, knowing how to do things because that is what their role is. And truly having an advisor with you could be that make or break step and allow you to just focus on being a great player.
Well said.
Well, Wayne, I have to let you go. I know I got to do some more shoveling as you're probably just finishing the last little bit of it. Have a great weekend. Any plans for this weekend? Any trips planned for you while you're checking out Saskatchewan?
Yeah, we're going to head up to Prince Albert. There's supposed to be a 2-game homestand for the Prince Albert Raiders. So myself and the wife are going to head up there and hopefully catch that if all things work out well.
Well, look forward to hearing some stories next Tuesday with you. Wayne's World brought to you by our good friends at Case Financial, Toby Hockey, Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, as well as Dokes Brookfield. We'll see you next week, Wayne. Take care of yourself and be good at it.
Thanks. You too, Theo.
Right on. This has been Wayne's World as well as on the ice here on ASTV, bringing more goodness to the greatness. As always, check us out Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 o'clock on the network and wherever you get your videos from us. Really appreciate your time. Again, beginning of Black History Month, a lot of great action happening, and we welcome back all the wonderful leagues in and around Canada. Go visit some rinks. Go take care of yourself, bend with the knees, and enjoy some shoveling. Have a great rest of the week. We'll see you on Thursday with a good buddy of mine, Mike Stackhouse, as we talk about the headlines of ins and outs of professional and junior sports in Canada. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.